Welcome back to the deep dive. So I want you to think about your social media feed for a second.
Mm-hmm.
If you're anything like me, you've seen this happen. You're just scrolling, and then bam, a brand new skincare line appears out of nowhere.
Right.
It's got that perfect, minimalist look. It's got some trending ingredient nobody had even heard of 3 months ago, and they're doing a limited drop next Friday.
And it feels like the brand itself didn't exist 6 months ago.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
feels like it just appeared. And that's what we're digging into today, because my first thought is usually, okay, is this legit?
Or is it just someone mixing stuff in their garage?
Yeah. But it turns out what looks like magic is actually just extremely sophisticated manufacturing.
It is. It's the whole machinery behind what the industry calls fast turnaround cosmetics manufacturing.
And to guide us, we're looking at a pretty amazing document today. It's called The Essential Buyer's Guide to Rapid Scale Production. It's from an industry group, Ingredientsage.
And it's basically the playbook for how you slash your time to market, your TTM, without, creating a dangerous product.
Right. The not creating a dangerous product part feels important.
It's the most important part. Anyone can make something fast if they cut corners on safety. The real story here is how you take a process that used to be, say, 18 months, and you squeeze it into a few weeks while keeping everything safe.
So let's set a baseline. In the old world, maybe 10 years ago, if I wanted to launch a simple moisturizer, what did that look like?
Oh, you were looking at 18 months to 2 years. Easily.
Wow.
You'd spend like 6 months just on the concept. Then you find a chemist, they start formulating. Then comes the big time suck, stability testing.
Or you put it in an oven, right, to see if it separates.
Exactly. For 3, sometimes 6 months. Then you have to source the packaging, wait for it to arrive, schedule a production run. It's a very long, linear process.
Okay, so that's the dinosaur model. What does the new fast turnaround model look like in 2026? What's the actual metric?
The guide defines the new gold standard as 6 to 12 weeks.
Wait, 6 to 12 weeks. From my idea to it being in a bottle.
From concept to the first production run. Now, we should be clear, this is for what they call uncomplicated cosmetics. A vitamin C serum, a lip gloss.
Not some brand new anti-aging molecule you invented in a lab.
Right. That's still years of R&D.
Yeah.
But for most of what you see launching on Instagram, the expectation is now weeks.
That is just incredibly fast. Why the change? I mean, why the rush?
It's all about market structure. The source material points right at social commerce. TikTok, Instagram drops.
The trends burn out so fast.
They burn hot and fast.
Yeah.
If a certain ingredient is trending in January and you launch your product in December, you've completely missed it. Brands need to get their ideas into the real world fast to see if they even work.
So it's about speed to capture that cultural moment.
Exactly. But here's the thing. You can't just tell people to work harder to cut 18 months down to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just yell at the chemist to run faster. You have to fundamentally change how it all works.
Which brings us to the how. The guide talks about a few things, but the one that jumped out at me was parallel workflows. Sounds very corporate speak.
It does sound like buzzword bingo, I'll give you that. But in this context, it's a really radical idea.
Okay, but I want to push back on that for a second. Parallel workflows means you're doing everything at once, right? Formulating the cream while designing the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't we do things one by one for a reason? I mean, if I order 1 million pumps and then the chemist makes the lotion too thick for the pump to work, I'm in huge trouble. Isn't this super risky?
You've just described the exact failure point. If you try to do parallel work with old tools...
Like spreadsheets and email chains.
Exactly. You will fail. You will end up with a warehouse full of pumps that don't fit the bottles. Guaranteed.
So what's the fix?
The guide is very clear. This only works if you have what they call a shared single source of truth. And we're not talking about a shared Google Doc.
Okay.
We're talking about cloud-based product lifecycle management systems, PLM systems.
Break that down for me. What is that?
Imagine a single digital dashboard. The formula, the packaging specs, the regulatory files, the label copy it, all lives in one place.
Okay.
So in 2026, the chemist, the packaging engineer, the regulatory person, they're all looking at the same live data.
So if the chemist tweaks the formula to be thicker,
The packaging engineer gets an instant alert. Something like, warning, viscosity increased. Pump may not function. It's real-time conflict detection.
okay. So the software is stopping the humans from making these huge, costly mistakes.
It's the digital safety net that lets you run all these processes at the same time. But even with the best software, you still hit a wall, and that wall is chemistry.
Right, the stability testing.
Yeah.
The oven. You can't just make that go fast.
You can't hack physics. If it takes 3 months to see if a formula is stable, it takes 3 months. So how do you get around that?
I have no idea.
This is the second big strategy in the guide. They call it the Lego approach. Dr. Elena Rossi from Ingredientsage calls it pre-validated modularity.
Pre-validated modularity. Sounds complicated.
It actually makes things simpler. Think of it like this. Instead of a manufacturer creating every formula from scratch, they build a library of chassis formulas.
Like a car chassis, a base frame.
Exactly like a car chassis. Let's say they have a standard hydrating gel cream chassis. They've already done the hard work. They've put that chassis in the oven for 3 months. They know it's stable. They know it's safe.
So the brand just comes in and picks one off the shelf.
A brand comes in and says, I want that one, but can we add, say, 0.1% of this trendy new oil for our marketing story?
And does that mean you have to start the whole 3-month test over again?
And that's the magic. No. If you stay within a validated range, if the chemists know that this base can handle up to, say, 0.5% of an added oil without falling apart, you can bridge the stability data.
So you don't have to rerun the whole test.
You just saved yourself 12 weeks.
That's genius. So you're trading, I guess, total from the ground up customization for incredible speed.
It's a perfect analogy. You're using a pre-built engine, but you get to pick the paint color. And this applies to packaging, too. They call it modular packaging.
So you're not designing a custom bottle that needs a new mold.
No way. That takes months. You're picking from a library of pre-qualified bottles, caps, pumps.
And that must help with supply chain issues, too, right? If the factory making your blue pump shuts down.
You just swap to the white one because the threading is standardized. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're just changing the tires.
Okay, this is starting to make sense. We have the software, we have the Lego blocks, but what about finding the right partner? If I have an idea for a caffeine eye cream, I Google cosmetic manufacturer, and everyone's going to promise me they're fast, cheap, and amazing.
The selection crisis. Yeah, the guide is very direct about this. You have to ask for specific operational data.
What are the red flags? What questions should I be asking?
First, ask for their ramp window. If a manufacturer tells you, oh yeah, send us the PO and we can start tomorrow, you should run.
They're lying.
They're either lying or they're incredibly reckless. A real facility needs time to schedule the line, get raw materials in. The guide says a 6 to 8 week ramp window is aggressive, but it's realistic.
What else?
Regulatory readiness. This is the boring stuff that can kill a launch. You need to ask them if they have a PIF, a product information file template ready to go.
A PIF.
It's the huge safety dossier required for markets like the EU. Compiling one from scratch takes forever. A fast partner should basically hand you one for the chassis and say, we just need to plug in your specific claims.
It sounds like the speed is really about managing paperwork.
It's 20% making the product and 80% managing the data. Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about money. Fast, good, cheap. You can only pick 2. This sounds expensive.
It is. The guide talks about TCO, total cost of ownership. If you just look at the per unit cost, yes, you will pay more for one bottle from a fast, modular manufacturer.
So why would a startup do that? Margins are so tight.
Because you're not just paying for the bottle, you're paying to avoid the cost of being wrong.
What do you mean?
If you order 50,000 units from a cheaper, slower factory overseas, and they show up 6 months late after the trend has died, you have zero revenue and a warehouse full of product you can't sell.
Ah, right. So you're paying a premium for agility?
For agility and to lower your inventory risk. You're not paying to warehouse stuff for months. You're paying to sell exactly what the market wants, right when it wants it.
I have to play devil's advocate here for a minute.
Please.
When I hear fast, automated, rapid scale, my mind immediately jumps to fast fashion. And we all know that story. Mountains of clothes in a landfill. Is fast beauty just that? Are we just making disposable junk?
It's a fair question. It's the elephant in the room. And honestly, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, the answer might have been yes. Fast did mean cheap and dirty.
But not anymore.
The landscape has changed. In 2026, there's a huge gatekeeper that fast fashion didn't really have in its early days. The retailers.
How so?
The big online beauty stores, the major chains, they now have really strict ESG requirements, environmental, social, and governance. You literally can't get your product listed if you don't have the sustainability paperwork to back it up.
So being green isn't a bonus, it's the price of admission.
It's table stakes now. which means those manufacturers have had to build sustainability into the Lego blocks. The chassis formulas are a clean label. The packaging libraries are full of recycled plastics or refillable options.
So the modular system actually makes that easier to manage.
It really does. It's much easier to certify 10 standard bottles than 10,000 custom ones.
But what about safety? You had a quote in the notes from a Dr. Priya Natarajan. Quality is the speed bump you can't skip.
Yeah.
I love the quote, but
Yeah.
quality checks slow things down. How does that work?
Her argument is that quality, when done right, is actually an accelerator.
Yeah.
Think about it like driving a car. You can actually drive faster when you know you have good brakes.
Okay, I like that metaphor.
If your data is a mess, if you don't have good traceability on your raw materials, you have to drive slow. You have to stop and double-check everything. But if you have an immutable digital record of every batch from farm to factory, you can floor it.
Because if a problem pops up, you know exactly which batch to isolate.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And they practice this. The guide talks about mandatory mock recalls.
A mock recall, like a fire drill for bad lotion.
That's exactly what it is. They'll trigger a drill. Batch 402 of this oil is contaminated. Go. And they time how long it takes the system to find every single affected product.
And if you fail that test,
You're not allowed to operate at speed. It's that simple. You have to prove your brakes work before you can get on the racetrack.
that's actually very reassuring. It's not just trust us, it's we test this.
Right.
So, okay, let's make this super practical. We've got the theory. Let's go back to my caffeine eye cream idea. I want it on shelves in 90 days. What does my life look like for the next 3 months?
Okay, strap in. Days 1 to 30. This is the definition phase. And this is where most people fail. Not because of the idea, but because they're too vague. You're sitting down with the manufacturer to define the bill of materials, the BOM.
You can't just say, I want a cool-looking blue jar.
You can't. You have to say, I want a 50 milliliter PET jar, 30% post-consumer recycled content, Pantone colored 286C with this specific cap. You lock it all down now because changing your mind on day 45 means you miss your launch.
Okay, specs locked. What's next? Day 31.
Days 31 to 60 is the validation phase. This is the pilot run. You're not making 50,000 units. You're making maybe 500.
The test drive.
It's the test drive for the whole system. The guide talks about line trials, where they will physically put your bottle on the high-speed assembly line to see if it tips over.
That's a real thing. Bottles tipping over.
Oh, it's a huge problem. If the base is too small or the center of gravity is too high, it jams the whole machine. You do not want to find that out on launch day when you have 50,000 units to fill.
Right. You solve it during the pilot. We're at day 61.
Execution. Now you push the big red button, you order the raw materials in bulk, but in 2026, you're also doing something called scenario planning.
Which is just a fancy way of saying,
Being paranoid. You're asking, okay, what if the ship with our main ingredient gets stuck in a storm? Do we have a backup supplier already vetted?
you're building your plan B while you're executing plan A.
You have to. In a 12-week timeline, a 3-day delay is a catastrophe. You need to know which lever to pull the second something goes wrong.
It seems like the whole thing is about planning for failure.
You have to be a pessimist in planning to be an optimist in execution. That's a whole game.
So if I look back on all of this, the big aha for me is that the speed doesn't come from rushing the actual making. It comes from all the prep work.
That's the core insight. It's totally counterintuitive. To go fast, you have to do an incredible amount of slow, careful work up front.
Building the libraries, setting up the software.
You're building a superhighway so that when an idea comes along, it can travel at 100 miles an hour safely.
And are there different models for this? Or is it one size fits all?
No, the guide lays out a few. There's like a full service model for big brands, and then there's a small batch express model for, an influencer who just needs 500 units for a pop-up. You have to match the model to the business.
It's just a fascinating shift. We think of manufacturing as this big, slow, industrial thing. And now it's digital. It's agile.
It really is. But can I leave you with one final thought on all this?
Please do.
We've clearly mastered the logistics of speed. We've done it through standardization, through these chassis formulas and Lego blocks that we've been talking about.
Right.
But if every new brand is essentially building with the same set of pre-approved Lego blocks just to hit that 12-week launch, are we sacrificing true innovation?
That's a heavy question.
Is every brand just using stock chassis number 5 with a tiny tweak? Are we actually getting better, more interesting products? Or are we just getting more products faster? We've optimized the process, but have we maybe homogenized the outcome?
That is definitely something to think about the next time one of those new brands pops up on your feed. Is this a breakthrough? Or is it just really, really good logistics.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for walking us through that, and thank you, as always, for joining us on this deep dive into the mechanics of modern beauty. We'll see you on the next one.